Arizona's Democratic candidate for Attorney General, Chris Mays, is focusing her campaign on climate change and abortion rights. Listen to what she had to say in response to a judge backing a pre-statehood law banning abortion in most cases.
It will put the health of women at risk in a way we have not seen in my lifetime. Women and girls will die because of it.
Yeah, no state's going to deny an abortion if the life of the mother is at risk. And then there is also this. According to a recent Fox News poll, the border is among the most important issue for voters in that critical battleground state. Here to react is her opponent, Republican nominee for Arizona Attorney General, Hamadeh. Good morning to you. It is no surprise that the border is on the top of mind for Arizona voters. So if you do become Attorney General, how will you handle this issue?
Good morning. Thanks for having me on. So, I've called for on day one when I take office that I'm going to label the drug cartels as terrorist organizations. And with that designation, there'll be enhanced sentencings on them. But, I was just down at the border in Yuma the other week, Carly, and what we're seeing right now is, besides the flood of illegal immigrants who are just coming across our border and walking into the hands of law enforcement, we have to be really concerned about the ones who are wearing camouflage, bringing in the drugs. I mean, a lot of what's going on at the border is such a distraction for what the drug cartel's operations are with the fentanyl. So this is what Arizonans care about right now. But as you said, my opponent, she said on day one, if she becomes Attorney General, she wants to appoint a climate change czar. On day one, I'm going to fight the criminals. So I think that's the biggest difference between my opponent and myself.
Yeah, like so many Democrats this election cycle, they're focusing on climate. They're focusing on abortion. When you sit down and talk to the Arizona voters, are they asking you about those topics, or are they focused on things like the border, like the economy, et cetera?
Absolutely. They're worried about the economy. I mean, Phoenix right now has one of the highest inflation rates across the country. But, the border is the top of mind issue because the fentanyl is plaguing our communities. And almost 100% of the fentanyl coming into our country is coming in from south of our border. So besides that, though, they're also looking at California right now. My opponent, she wants to implement Green New Deal policies like what's happened in California, where they now have rolling energy blackouts. California is not the example that Arizona wants to emulate. They have needles on the streets, homeless defecating in front of restaurants, trying to force hotels to house their homeless in vacant rooms. And that is not a model to try to emulate. That's an embarrassment. So we can't let Arizona go the way of California. But that Arizonans are really concerned about this rise in crime. And if you look at every single city that's implemented Democratic policies across the country, whether it's ending cash bail, like what's just happening in Illinois and New York, I mean, every single one of these policies have turned their cities into Gotham, and it's become lawless and chaos. So this is where we have to really push back against this dangerous agenda that's happening.
Well, it certainly does feel that way. And one of the reasons crime is getting so bad is because of these soft on crime prosecutors at a local level. Yeah. So if you become the state's top prosecutor, how would you handle that? What if there is a county attorney that disagrees with your stance on crime?
Well, this is a good question. You have to understand right now, look at Letitia James in New York, how she's weaponized that office. I recognize that my office has limitations as well, but, we have to make sure we get the good county attorneys elected all across our state and country. But, I'm honored to have the endorsement of every single law enforcement organization in Arizona. And I think right now what you're seeing is the police, they're backing good Republican candidates because we recognize that almost just about every Democrat that's being elected to these county attorney positions or district attorney positions are Soros funded, and they have this agenda. I mean, even San Francisco had to get rid of their George Soros prosecutor just a few months ago. So I'm optimistic for the future, but as Attorney General, I'm always going to have the backs of our law enforcement. But what I've been calling for here in Arizona is to give the authority to the Attorney General's office to take over some of these felony cases that county attorneys refuse to prosecute.
Hamadeh, thanks for coming on the program. Best of luck in your campaign. We'll be watching.
I see your signs that say Trump endorsed.
He's got signs.
Hamadeh.
Thanks, Abe.